If you are a softball or baseball player and you want more power, faster bat speed, and higher exit velocity, Swing Dynamics is the program for you. Rob Crews has just released his Swing Dynamics Bat Speed Training Program. The system comes with 4 custom Pro Maple bats, online training videos, a mobile app, pregame, preseason, and off-season bat speed programs, and more. To learn more about Swing Dynamics, log on to www.complete.game. That's www.complete.game.
What's up, everybody? This is Rob Crews. I'm your host of the Transcending Sport podcast. I have my special guest. I should start calling him my co-host now. Rick Pauly. Dr. Rick Pauly is back. What is up, Dr. Pauly?
Well, Mr. Crews, good to see you. Good to talk to you again.
Good to see you.
We have a season of college softball fresh under our belts now.
Yep.
Lots to chat about. A lot of observations, thoughts, ideas, the whole shooting match. Of course, you know me, I'm going to want to talk pitching, but you're probably going to hit us up on the hitting side here a little bit too, I assume.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I saw and some of the things that I predicted. And I'd love to get your take on a couple of things as well. So in the beginning of the year, I went down to Clearwater, Florida to watch a lot of the games, right? And a lot of the teams that were in the World Series were actually in Clearwater, Florida. I got to see the first couple of games and see what people were doing, what they looked like. And to me, one of my predictions, I was really, really impressed back in February with the athleticism, versatility, youth, energy of Texas. However, back in February, if I'm being honest, I thought that the only team that could beat Oklahoma in a 3-game series would be Oklahoma State. That was my prediction. And Oklahoma State did not, as we know, things didn't go well for them really offensively towards the end, and that cost them an opportunity to make my prediction come true. But did you have any picks before the season?
No. I probably went with the status quo, and I was thinking Oklahoma and Texas. I had the opportunity to go visit daughter Sarah in Austin. Mm-hmm. The weekend I went happened to be the weekend series of Texas and Oklahoma.
I remember when you told me about that. Yeah. How's that?
Got to see Friday night's game and Saturday's game. And I will tell you, Saturday's game, that's the one where Texas beat Oklahoma, the first mm-hmm. game. Probably is the best college game I've ever seen. Probably the best softball game I've ever seen in the women's sport.
Wow.
The energy in the stadium was unbelievable. Both sides, great coaching, great pitching, mm-hmm. Drama. I mean, the whole shooting match. It was really, I felt like I probably had just seen the national championship game, and that was in 1st of April, whenever that was.
Right.
So, yeah, and I think it probably came down to the 2 best teams, in the end, and that's the way it's supposed to be, I think. But,
and there were some surprises. I mean, let me tell you this. I'm just going to say this. I did not expect Alabama with limited hitting. I'm not even going to dress it up with no hitting to get as far as they got. That was a pretty cool run.
Well, I think Pat Murphy's done a great job coaching mm-hmm. many, many years. Mm-hmm. This might have been his best year.
I would say
from about. Probably the last third of the season, was probably nobody had that on their radar screen.
Not at all. That was excellent. That was great. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so what do you think about that A&M Texas game? That was the funny. There was so many little stories within the story with that A&M Texas series. That was like a little mini World Series. It was like a little Texas World Series going on. It was like a
Yeah, it
Texas
really
championship. and hey, let's not get it twisted. Baylor gave Florida a run for their money.
They did.
Like Baylor
Yeah.
could have won. Baylor could have won that series.
You know, that kind of goes to say on any given day, you know, every dog's got his day or whatever. But yeah, there's some, you know, if you kind of maybe exclude, no, don't even exclude any, on any given day, somebody can be beat in this game.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and that's what makes it such a great game, you know. I have another observation I want to throw at you. Of
Go
course,
ahead.
I'm a pitching guy, right? And I like to think if I'm pretty good at teaching two pitches, I'm going to say I think it's changeup and it's rise ball. So I really love those two pitches. I felt like what was really interesting, if you took the final four teams in the World Series, let's wrap them off. You got Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, and Stanford.
Yep.
A common thread of let's say their ace pitcher, rise ball dominant. I think that's a real important point because I don't know how many times I've heard it, and I just go into shock when I hear it is, oh, don't throw a rise ball. If it flattens out, it's going to get hit out of the park. Well, what happens if you throw a drop ball a little bit too high?
Well,
Gets hit a long distance.
You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. So here's my
about it.
Here's my thoughts.
You're the hitting dude. Let's go. Yeah.
So here are my thoughts. My thoughts are I'm such a mental hitting. I'm such like to me, you can do all the stuff you want to do. You can go in the weight room. You can adopt all these different things that are coming out every couple of months. But if everything that you do that focuses on the physical plane, you're focusing on 20% of hitting.
So it's up here somewhere, huh?
It's 80% of it's here. 80% of it is a combination of the visual, the perceptual, the cognitive, and then obviously the mental fortitude or the mental resilience, mental emotional resilience. Like that's the 80%. Which is what I like to focus on because at the end of the day, that's who's going to last. That's who's going to be the last four. If you're talking about championship level, it's 80% mental. So when it comes to rise ball, and I'm going to put aside the fact that the debate of does a rise ball really rise or does it stay on plane and give us the illusion that it's rising. I'm going to put that argument to the side.
Yeah, that could be a whole conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. But the fact that most hitters do not have the ability to read a high pitch and then have the discipline to stop. Have the discipline, and I should be on me on this camera, and have the discipline to stop. They just don't have the discipline to stop. And therefore it becomes an effective pitch because I don't know how you really work on that. In BP, unless you got a machine that throws it, but it's still not the same thing because there's so many variations of speeds and spins, and they got rise balls that kind of have like screwball action to it. So it's really, really, to me, that rise ball pitch is more about discipline and being able to make slight physical adjustments when you have a pitcher who lives up in the zone and who's effective up in the zone. But I just think it's more of a discipline with hitters to know how to zone down, or people say see it down. I think that's a real tough thing to do when you have pitchers who are really good.
Yeah, what I felt about them, you know, if you wrap them off and talk about, you know, Texas has got that freshman Caven girl. Of course, Maxwell at Oklahoma. Rothrock at Florida did a great job. And of course, Canada's got a rise ball that just won't quit. But they can all throw it for a strike. And what I felt was really interesting, a lot of those young ladies are throwing it, you know, mid-thigh high. So your first level rise. So, you know, the theory of, you know, just don't swing at it goes out the window, especially, you know, if you got two strikes. If a girl can throw a rise ball, that moves in the zone. And, you know, that's the key.
Let me ask you a question. How many people in the country can throw a low rise effectively?
A low rise. Oh, let's say of girls that
Would you call that a low rise? Because it's a
a
strike.
low rise is going to be probably go by the hitter maybe 5 inches above their kneecap.
So that's a low rise. So what's the next level up? Would you call that a mid rise?
Yeah, I call it a level 2, but that's where the top of the ball is going to be right at the bottom of the sternum. It's a strike.
Okay, so now that pitch, how many people can hit? How many people are throwing that effectively in the country? Can you count them on one hand or two hands?
The level 2, the one up by the sternum. I think, I'll bet you there's 25 or 30 girls that can do that pretty effectively.
Effectively in the country?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the country, yeah.
Okay.
The low rise, the first level down here by the mid thigh, you're probably only talking 6 or 7 or 8.
Okay, so now let me ask you this: so if there's only 30 people that are throwing it, there's 330 something Division I teams. Even if one of those 30 were on every team, that's still 300 teams that don't have that. They can't throw that pitch.
True.
So so I guess what I hear you saying is we should probably start pitchers. I think pitchers and pitching coaches should start to learn how to develop that pitch.
I think so too.
Because it's such an effective pitch. Because it's only 30. Yeah. And I mean, your numbers obviously it's about 30. I don't know what percentage that would be of pitchers in the country, but like that's not a prevalent pitch. You don't see that pitch. You're not going to see it in travel ball.
Yeah. And maybe that's why those Final Four teams made it to the Final Four.
Maybe that's
is because nobody gets enough practice swinging at a good rise ball, and now all of a sudden you see a good rise ball. Big disadvantage for a hitter.
So is the level 2 rise ball? So would you say that the low rise is probably the best rise ball you can have, or do you need a combination of 2 different rise balls or both rise balls?
Well, I want all 3. I want third level also. That's right up here. It looks like it's a strike and then moves up out of the zone.
Okay.
That's the first rise ball you learn. Because it's got a lot of angle, has a little bit of jump, and you throw it up here. And most kids that have never seen a rise ball will swing at that every day of the week. Now, and then you got to learn this one down here, and then pretty soon you got to learn the one that's down here mid thigh.
Okay, so from a hitter's point of view, from a hitter's perspective, I got one thing. One, back of the box. I think it's a little bit harder to make a ball break that deep. And people go back and forth. If you watch TV, pretty much every single major Division I hitter is on that back line with their back foot.
Yep.
That gives them more time to see it, more time to say no, and it adds a level of difficulty to throwing that pitch to the pitcher because they have to make it break so much deeper, so much later, which I believe is harder to do for a pitcher.
It is. If you believe the whole ball doesn't rise and all that kind of good stuff. Technically, when that hitter's in the back of the box, if the umpire is calling the position of the hitter instead of the position of the ball at the front of the plate, that's an advantage for the hitter. Because that ball is it's really not going up anymore. It's flattened out. Some of them are actually even going downward when it gets
that deep
towards the back. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a great adjustment for hitters. When you get a pitcher that has a really good rise ball, like I have there's a pitcher that plays for the team I work with, and her name is Bree. She's a Virginia Tech commit. She's 2 strikeouts an inning. She's actually 2 point whatever it is strikeouts an inning, and with tremendous spin. And her rise ball is in that. I think we talked about it last time. Like the speed range of the rise ball has to be a certain range of speed in order to get enough revolutions to get that type of break. And am I right?
Well, boy, you're going to get me going here, Mr. Crews.
Let's go.
Now, did I say that any of those 4 pitchers I wrapped off that were the Final Four, did I say they had really good backspin? No.
You didn't.
What you saw was a lot of what we call a big dot gyro.
You saw that.
Okay,
I saw that, yeah.
But they all throw their rise ball fast. And that's a trait of somebody trying to overpower a rise ball. They lose the cupping of the fingers, the centripetal force of that ball spinning on the end of the arm opens the fingers, and then you get a big dot gyro. So,
would you say
it's going to slap more than it's going to rise up?
This is my signed ball? This is my signed. I have a signed ball here, signed by Odyssey Alexander, and it says to Rob, my #1 fan. So the spin on this ball here, I'm going to show, like what we saw on TV was we saw a ball spinning like this.
That's right. And as a matter of fact, when you just spun that, you can see there's a target on coming right at the hitter. When you show it on TV, the SEC or the NCAA logo forms a dot, and my wife looked at it and says, "Oh my God, they're even throwing a target to the hitter."
Yep,
they're putting a little dot right at the hitter.
So my point is, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I'm hearing you saying. If you're going to throw a rise ball harder, it's better to throw it harder if you have gyro spin. But no,
never. Gyro spin, in my opinion, is never good.
Okay? But that's what everybody was throwing that I saw on TV.
They are. Their gyro is it's off center a little bit, enough that it has some lift. Mm-hmm. And if you throw it fast enough, gravity doesn't have time to pull it down as much as if you were throwing it slower.
So it has a speed range.
It really comes down to gravity.
So there's a velocity range that you should be in with that type of spin. No.
I tell people there's a trade-off and there's a sweet spot for everybody between their good spin metrics and speed. And as an instructor, you have to find that sweet spot for the kid.
Right.
Okay. You can't just throw spin metrics out and compromise that for speed, but you can't ignore speed either, because like you said, it's reaction time for the hitter, it's less time for gravity to pull a ball down. So it's a balancing act, and it's different for every kid.
And we just have to find it, that sweet spot. Got
to find it, yeah.
Okay. So let's go. So let's go over to the right. So and one more thing I'm gonna say is that if you have a lot of hitters that are facing rise ball pitchers that have too much forward bend in the setup, so the hitters that look like this in their setup, like forward bend towards the plate, too much, they're gonna ultimately be underneath the rise ball significantly. So so the adjustment that we make with hitters is we try to get them to be a little bit more upright. Let me see if I can get this right on so you see this on the screen. So instead of being here with that much forward bend or body lean towards the plate, we try to get them a little more upright to allow them the opportunity to get the better shoulder plane, to have a better opportunity to get on top of that rise ball and kind of catch it more out front, but kind of like getting on top of it, but not getting too far where you're kind of getting underneath it. And then if you're pitching to hitter problems, if you're a pitching coach and you're pitching to the hitters, those hitters that take that back shoulder and just go straight down with the back shoulder, they'll never be able to hit anything up in the zone. Not hard.
Going to be harder.
Right. The better hitters are going to take that back shoulder and they're going to go forward and underneath with it, and they have a better shot at being able to have the right response to a ball up in the zone or a ball that has that kind of height in the zone. So those are some of the adjustments that we make as hitters. And then there's some hitters you just don't even move. You don't even, they're just good enough. They just have the eyes.
Yeah, I think really, as you were explaining what you just did, I'm thinking about eyes, and I kind of got into this big thing called motor preferences, and aerial, terrestrial, all that kind of stuff, and depending whether you're aerial, terrestrial, you like to see up better or do you like to see down better. So you can do some adjusting as long as you don't take a kid totally out of their preference with maybe how much forward or vertical bend you have or whatever. Some kids are just going to be better at hitting high and some are going to be better at hitting low. And I guess you gotta pick your battles, I guess. And
Yeah, and I think and this goes back to my one thing, okay? Because we could talk about all the different things that we do in terms of movement, right? Including preferences, because we teach to the hitter and we teach to the pitcher. I mean, that's not nothing new, right? But what I will say is that if you go back and look at all the home runs that were hit, and you look at the pitch locations,
the middle of the middle of the middle, right?
those pitchers are all throwing the ball on those home runs. They're all down the middle.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And if you throw,
In the end, that's it. Yep.
and that's what it comes down to. And if you throw those types of hitters that pitch, they're going to put it in the parking lot, and that's the bottom line. We can sit here all day and talk about this. They're not going to throw a perfect rise ball every time. When they miss, they're getting beat. They're going to get the hitters are going to capitalize on it. And if hitters never missed, we would never get it. We would never hit if they never missed.
Yeah.
We wouldn't hit. We would never. If a pitcher hit her spots and was on the corners, you want to know something? Go back and look at the stats of the Pac-12 pitchers, Big 12 pitchers. They may not throw as hard as the SEC pitchers, but they give up less home runs.
Location.
I think they're locating differently. They're focused more because you have different styles of softball in different parts of the country. If you look at Texas, a lot of good hitting, a lot of fast defenders, a lot of slapping, a lot of speed. The infielders are faster. The players are more athletic, all across the board. Stronger, faster. They have the combination of power, speed. Most of those kids can slap on the left side, turn around to the right side if they wanted to. They could, right? And I think that's a style of Texas, right? You go to Cali, can they throw hard? Yes. Do they? Not always. But they pitch on the West Coast. They pitch. Then you have like the Northeast, like if you throw hard, you're successful. But then if you go from the Northeast down to the South and you throw hard, they're gonna smoke it. It doesn't matter how hard you throw it. So it's different. Yeah. There's different styles of what's successful. And what I love about the World Series is you're taking all the different brands. I think there was something like somebody said there was like something like 19 Texas players total in that final World Series on like both teams.
With Texas and Oklahoma?
Yes, that's what somebody said. It was something crazy. And it's funny because when I go to camps, Rick, when I go work camps at different colleges, the Texas kids stand out, man. Fundamentally, defensively, offensively, they stand out. Even if they don't play for a big name brand team. Like they stand out. It's different. And that goes back to coaching. That goes back to player development at the young ages, 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s. IQ, throwing from different arm slots, defending the slap, power, speed. It's just a little different. So, drop ball.
Drop ball. Yeah, it's a great pitch.
What you got?
Great pitch. Probably the two best drop ball pitchers got knocked out of the series. The girl from Oklahoma State and Morgan, the girl from Texas. But again, anytime they elevated their drop ball, it got hit. When they kept that drop ball down knees, it was, might have been a ground ball. But it was not going to get hit out of the park. And as soon as they elevated, and I think some of it was, at least with the Oklahoma State girl, I'm going to give her a break. Kid threw a lot of innings. Okay? Mm-hmm. Had she been fresh as a daisy, things might have been different for Okie State.
I mean, once you get to the Final Four, though, it comes down to one thing for pitchers. Conditioning. It comes down to conditioning.
Well, I'm going to throw
every
another
year.
One at you.
What does it come down to?
I made a little note or two here. Think about it. I think this year it came down to having a pitching staff. Oklahoma and Texas had a staff, both of them. Florida, Stanford, kind of had one pitcher. Well, okay, and they rode them to death.
That would be conditioning, no? That would be conditioning. So if I don't have the conditioning, then I need a staff, right?
Yeah,
because if you go back in time to when Rachel Garcia lost that World Series, She worked harder in her conditioning. Next year she won it. Because staffs. Okay, here's my thing about staffs, and I agree with staffs. Because some of these pitching coaches were putting pitchers out there, and you would see something like, she only had 18 innings pitched all season. And like, you're throwing her in the World Series? But here's the deal. Here's the difference now. The difference is we have Synergy. Are you familiar with Synergy?
Yeah.
Shout out to Synergy. If you're not familiar with Synergy out there in the podcast land, it is a software that videos games, right? 3 angles, third base dugout, first base dugout, home plate. It tags each pitch. So you can literally put into the filters, if you're facing a pitcher, how many changeups she threw. Oh, she throws 60% changeups. She throws 60% changeups first pitch. She never throws changeup first pitch. So you can. This girl can hit changeups. She's batting .475 against changeups. She's batting .900 on a pitches high in the zone. So you can literally create your matchups.
Yeah.
And so there's really no such thing anymore now. Now that we have this data, it's so good. Now I can be smarter as a coach and say, you know what? You match up better against that team than she does. So it's not about my number 1 anymore. It's not about who's my number 2. It's about who my better matchup is.
Sure.
For that particular team.
Yeah.
So now these coaches are able to really, now you're starting to see the true genius in a lot of these coaching staffs and pitch callers, because they recruit pitchers based on having different types of pitchers in their arsenal.
Sure.
So if I already have a hard thrower who goes up in the zone, now I need to bring in somebody who can throw down in the zone and out in the zone. Then I got to bring in somebody who's good in and change the speeds. Like you got to, I think, and on our last podcast, Rick, we talked a lot about changing speeds and how effective you can be as a pitcher with changing speeds, even if you just did everything off the changeup and then worked from there. And I think people underestimate that pitch, that changeup, because I'm going to tell you right now, the best hitters struggle with that. The best hitters struggle with that. And if you're like, well, I don't have a change. Well, you need to work on it. If you're not working on, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not working on a changeup right now, you're crazy. And this is from a hitting coach. If you're a pitcher and you don't have a changeup, I promise you, you're selling yourself way too short. And you might need more than one changeup. You might need more than one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gone to where, I want my kids, if they're going off to college, I want them to have 4 speeds. Obviously on the low end, you got a changeup, and then you got an off-speed something. It's on off-speed drop, off-speed curve, off-speed rise. Going to be an off-speed something, and then of course you got your rising curve, and then you got your fast drop ball up here at the top end. But I think they ought to have 4 speeds if they want to be, in the long run. If you want to be successful over the long haul. I don't know. You're the hitting guy. I've always stated this, that the most difficult thing for a hitter to deal with is speed variation. Now,
okay, I'm going to back you up on that. So we play. I consider the team that I work with to be a really strong hitting team. Most of the best teams that we see in travel ball in the country, that the best teams, if you have a team that has 3 hitters, that's pretty good. Like 3 legit good hitters, that's very, very, very good. If a team has a deeper amount of hitters than that, and especially if they're good at adjusting early, and adjusting quickly, your ability to have multiple speeds is paramount. Because even if a hitter decided they wanted to sit on a changeup, they now have to decide which changeup they're going to sit on.
Sure.
And it's easy if it's just I'm sitting change and you only got one change. That's easy. Because I know you're going to throw it at least twice in a 6-7 pitch sequence. Right? You're probably going to throw it as a first pitch strike for your number 3 batter. Right? Because you're pitching to that player's aggressiveness. And if that number 3 batter says I'm going to sit change, hopefully you got more than one.
Yeah.
And it's 50-50. But it's extremely difficult. most swings, most hitters don't have and focus on training high acceleration rates, and most hitters who are pushers, who watch my hands, who push their bat and push it, are going to really have problems with driving changeups. So you can look at mechanics and tell. Well, I can, and if you're going to be an effective pitch caller, or even if you're a pitcher and you're starting to assess swings, even in the on deck circle, you kind of know how hitters are taking pitches, how hitters are sequencing or not sequencing, posture, and like what they can and cannot hit. You kind of get a sense of that, right? So I've always said it, and I'm gonna say it again on the show is I think that the best hitting coaches are probably pitching coaches because pitching coaches watch a lot of film of hitters.
Oh man,
I think
this a lot.
It's true. I think a lot of pitching coaches probably watch more film, which is why I talk to a lot of pitching coaches about hitting more than I talk to hitting. I don't even to be honest with you, I don't like to talk hitting with hitting people.
Yeah,
because I feel like
that's why we get along so good. Right?
That's why you're my boy. I have an agenda. I have a special agenda. I want to pick your brain. I want to know what the pitchers know. But it's funny because like a lot of hitting coaches, it seems like they all want to agree with each other. Like, yeah, you're right. No, why can't I do something different? Why can't more than one thing be true?
Yeah.
More than one thing can be true. Like, this is how I'm doing it, and it's working. Is that how you're doing it? Great. Is it working? Phenomenal. We don't have to agree. It's not my objective to agree with and have everybody everybody love me because we all agree. Like go do you, and I'm gonna do me. And guess what? More than one thing can be true, and I think it's not about how it looks. It's not always about it has to look a certain way. And sometimes in hitting, we get caught up into that's not. Well, I know it's not, but it's working for her. It's working for this girl. She's hitting the ball this way. So would I rather be right and she can't hit? Or would I rather find her truth? Because truth and max performance are not always congruent.
Yeah. I've always felt that same way. I think in pitching is, I think there's a kind of a base you look at mechanically of how a pitcher moves. Mm-hmm. But it's got quite a range to it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as a kid is somewhere in the range, things are great. Now, when I see that pitcher that's way outside the range here somewhere, well, I'm probably going to try to fix that kid. my MO or my makeup won't let me not try to fix that kid. But if a kid's in a range here, forget about her mechanics. Now let's teach her how to spin a ball and change of speed and hit a spot. Yeah, but forget about the mechanics if they're here.
I'm so glad you said what you said. So this weekend, right? This weekend we were a little bit short on pitching. So we brought up a kid from 16U, and the only reason why we brought her up, well, two reasons. We brought her up because we had like one pitcher for the whole tournament. So we had her come up from the 16s to kind of help us out, right? So, but we do metrics. Like we're a data-driven organization. So we knew that she had the best spin data in the entire organization of almost 100 teams. Mm-hmm. Best spin data. So what do you think I'm thinking? Go out there and freaking spin it. We have 5 shortstops in the infield. Just live around the plate and spin it. If you keep it in the park, you're going to win. She shut down one of the top teams in the tournament. Nobody could believe it. And then she was able to work the changeup in. Because the other thing about the changeup is the power of the changeup is the fear. That's the power of the changeup. It's the fear. It's in the hitter's head when the other pitchers are coming. When the other pitches are being thrown, the changeup is in the hitter's head. That's the real key and the real power of the changeup. I agree with that
10,000%.
That's the power
I went
of it.
I went to one of Sarah's pro games. Mm-hmm. It was up in Philly, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. And I remember the pitcher clearly, Lauren Bay, very good pitcher. Mm-hmm. Okay, they're playing pro. This is good stuff. First pitch of the game, changeup. And I'm thinking, and she got a good one. And I'm thinking, she just scared the crap out of every hitter on that opposing team right there. Put it in their brain. Now they got to, oh my God, I got to deal with a changeup.
And she'll throw it on the first pitch. And then if you
Yeah.
don't even throw it for the next 2 innings, in their head they're like, she hasn't thrown it. It's got to be the next one.
Yeah.
It's a mind game. So what? And let me tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something, Rick. I spend so much time with my hitters. I have videos. I have like 5, 6, 7 minute videos that I send out to my hitters of me working with kids on changeups and just to get them to understand changeup feel and what I want them to feel, and the mentality going up against changeup. People say, I can't hit changeup. How do I hit changeups? Changeup hitting is a mentality. It's not a swing adjustment. You have to have the guts and the courage to learn and know when to sit on it and be okay with being wrong and be okay with being out.
That's the fear factor, being wrong. Yeah.
Why are we afraid to be wrong? Sit on it, and if you're wrong, you're out because you're going to be out anyway.
Yeah,
but if
that's
you sit
right.
on it, but Rick, if you sit on it and you're right,
Yeah.
bam, let's go.
You got a chance.
And now the pitcher's like, wait, and if you get 2 or 3 people that sit on it in a row, the pitcher's like, they start throwing that changeup for a ball. You're all in their head. It's a whole emotional battle. It's a whole emotional battle of adjusting, readjusting.
Who was the girl in the World Series? She threw 4 straight changeups.
That's
Who
great.
was it? Was it Nicole May threw 4 straight to somebody? Or anyhow, there was a girl in the World Series in one of the final games. I think she threw 4 straight changeups. The kids at bats thinking, well, she threw me 3. She sure isn't going to throw me a 4th one. Ooh, there it was.
Right, and then you come back with a 4th one. And now the other hitters are thinking, when they get a changeup, they're thinking, will she throw me another one? Like it's such a mind game, man. It's such a mind game. So what I try to do is, we work on different combinations of one, looking for changeup and adjusting to something else, or looking for something else and adjusting to changeups. We work on different combinations of it, just so I can try to find out for hitters what they're more comfortable with doing. And then so from there we work on that, and then we work on counts. And when you're ahead in the count, what changeups you want to let go, even if it's a strike. Because some hitters feel like, changeup, I got to protect strikes, and they don't want to let changeups go.
Yeah. So
it's really a mentality for us. When I'm developing really, really good changeups. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if this is a warning to all college pitchers, if you throw a Rob Crews hit or a changeup, be prepared to back up third base.
Yeah.
Because they're prepared for it, 100%. The kids that I've had, like my kids that come in every week, that I actually mentor every week, you throw them a changeup, you're in trouble. You're going to be backing up third base.
Yeah, I'm going to remember that.
I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. So, and me giving them that confidence and transferring that confidence is kind of like, here, put on the coat of arms, put on the coat of many colors. I'm anointing you as the changeup hitter. And it gives them that confidence. Like, I can hit change. Most kids are like, if you did a poll and ask kids, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how confident they are against changeup pitchers, most of your kids are going to be below 5.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Below 5, if they're being honest.
Yeah.
So we gotta do better with that. And I think the most effective and the scariest thing for me as a hitting coach is a pitcher with 2 different changeups. Like we're gonna lose.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. We're gonna have to do some bunts and get some bunts down. We're gonna have to get hit by some pitches. It's not gonna be.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
So
I got another question on another topic that I wrote down here. I want to get your opinion, or how do you feel about the portal, and then blend in? How do you feel about the NLI money?